up, guys? This is Ray. Welcome to Asian Filmless, and today we'll be talking about 2011 Japanese movie Gantz. This is the first part of a two-part series, but today we're going to be only reviewing the first part. And both movies were directed by Sato Shinsuke, the director of many great anime adaptations. Well, great by my definition. I mean, if you ask actual anime fans, they might beg to differ, but I actually enjoy Sato Shinsuke's movies. He did Inuyashiki, he did Library Wars, the latest Death Note movie, and I enjoy them for the most part. And, heading the cast in this movie, we have Ninomiya Kazunari, Matsuyama Kenichi, and Natsuna. And this movie is an adaptation of a manga originally written by Oku Hiroya, who also wrote Inuyashiki. So, in other words, Gantz is the first collaboration between director Sato and author Oku. They went on to, well, of course, make the sequel to Gantz, but also Inuyashiki. And going back to the second movie, like I said, this is the review of the first movie. I'll review the second movie if I have time. It's really all a matter if I have time. I definitely want to review it when I get the chance. Also, a little disclaimer, I'm not going to be going into too deep detail on how different this live action is from the source material, because it is quite different. They changed up a lot of details and some sequences of events, but we're just going to mainly talk about how I felt about this movie as a standalone experience. So the story of Gantz, it's about these two childhood friends. They were friends back in elementary school, but they haven't seen each other in years. There's Kurono and Kato. They meet each other again in their early 20s, and they meet at a train station in Tokyo, and they end up getting themselves killed, getting hit by a train, trying to save this drunk guy after he falls over the platform. But then after they're killed, they find themselves in this apartment in Tokyo, and in the middle of the living room is this giant black orb by the name of Gantz. And they're grouped with other people who also seem to be survivors of death, whether they were killed in an accident, died through natural causes, murdered, or whatnot. These guys are gathered in this one room, and Gantz, this black orb, it opens up and supplies to them these suits which can enhance physical abilities and weapons. And Gantz sends them off on missions in which they have to kill aliens who are hiding amongst humans. Now, I watched the anime years ago, and I've read most of the manga years ago also, and I've seen Gantz when it came out in the theaters. There was a time when I absolutely loved Gantz, and so I was excited when this first movie came out in theaters. So, when it did come out, I did watch it an opening weekend, also with the second movie. So although my knowledge and memory of the details of what happened in the source material are quite fuzzy, I did consider myself a fan of Gantz back in the day. And, it was fun rewatching this live action so I can review it for you guys. So when it comes to the positives of the live action of Gantz, I genuinely enjoyed the special effects. I thought the special effects, especially the CG, were really damn good. I mean, especially when it comes, I always say this in my reviews, but Japanese special effects in Japanese movies aren't one to brag about. I mean, they're okay, they get the job done, but Japan's usually not known for high quality CG. But you can tell in this movie they went the extra mile, and they actually delivered really good CG. And the way if they use CG to make an alien move around and animate it, it made it so that way it purposely looked like bad CG. It's kind of weird to say, but bad, kind of cartoon looking CG, but it was made to be an aesthetic. And I think that was a part of the charm of the CG with this movie. I also dug the costumes, the suits, which Gantz supplies to the humans so they can go out hunting. And it looks like cosplay. I mean, you look at it, it's simply put, it looks like cosplay. It looks uncomfortable as all hell, but it's picture perfect, in my opinion. I think they got all the details correctly. I mean, skin-tight, black, and full of different physique-enhancing abilities that when they manifest on screen, they're just as weird as when they were drawn in the manga. And something that I'm going to add as a positive is the changes some of these characters had to go through in order to adapt a manga into a 2-hour movie format. Now, usually, this happens with any kind of anime manga adaptation. Whenever they try to put it into a 2-hour movie, things are going to get changed. You just can't help it. I think the best solution is to kind of just see what they try to do with it and just judge from there if it works. And I think in Gantz, it works. Like, they changed up a lot of detail in these characters' backstories, and in addition to, like I said earlier, the sequence of events of some scenes, as well as situations of a lot of the characters during these different episodes or story arcs. But like I said, for the most part, I dug the changes, and I think the character whose changes I actually liked the most was Kurono. He's very different from his original version, and I think the version they went with, the version that they wrote for this live action movie, worked for this movie format. And they cut a lot of characters from the source material because it is impossible to squeeze as the same number of characters that they had in the manga into this 2-hour movie and make it not feel cluttered. Because if they included every memorable character from the 3 story arcs that are in this movie, then I think everything would just be lost in the clutter. It would have been a total mess. So they cut out a good chunk of these characters. They kept the lead 3 characters, Kato, Kurono, and Kishimoto, and they even kept Nishi. And there are a few characters from the source who come in, but some have been vastly changed, so that way you won't even know if you can't even tell if they're from the manga or not. I also dug the action sequences. It's a survival game of sorts. You have these hunters who are trying to find these aliens and take them down. And the action scenes that come with them are fun. They're entertaining. And, at first you start off pretty slow because the characters, they don't really know the kind of powers they have with these suits. But as these characters learn more and more about what they can do, the action sequences just get more high energy. As far as the negatives I have to say about Gantz, well, first of all, it's the first one to say is the casting of Kurono. We have Ninomiya Kazunari. First of all, he's my favorite member of Arashi for those who care. But I felt like his performance, I think I wanted a bit more from him, because the Kurono that I like was kind of like this dick who's always trying to get laid with anyone he can. He's just that kind of dude. He kind of is still kind of that dude in this movie. Like I said, his character arc went through some changes in the writing process, but I feel like Ninomiya didn't actually deliver the full amount of jerkiness that I would have loved to see from him. I think he did all right for the most part, but he could have done a lot more. Another negative I felt was the inclusion of Tae, who is the girlfriend of Kurono in the original source. They brought her in a lot earlier than when she actually appears in the manga and anime, and because of that, she felt very shoehorned into it, and the way she was brought about, she almost felt like a stalker. I'm pretty sure it was pretty close to how she was portrayed in the original story. As I mentioned earlier, my memory is kind of fuzzy of these little details, but I felt like just, overall her inclusion was just kind of shoehorned in there. Also the violence, the violence is very toned down from the original source. This movie is still pretty violent. There's still body parts being chopped off. There's still blood splattering everywhere, but it is nowhere near as violent as it could have been. If you watch the anime, or if you read the manga, you know how dark and gruesome the story can get. This movie is kind of like that, but it's more of like a very light take on it. If you watch it and you think it was pretty violent, it could have been a lot more. And I think this movie, from an aesthetic point of view, could have benefited from carrying over its original level of violence. For overall, what they have to say about Gantz, I think it's a fine adaptation. I actually enjoyed it. Despite all the changes to the characters, to some of the settings, to the tone, I feel like this movie takes a lighter tone in comparison to the source material, and it doesn't dive deep into a lot of its kind of into its commentaries on human society as it did in the original source. But despite all that, it's still streamlined to make a comprehensible 2-hour movie, and it still makes for a piece of entertainment which I feel is still pretty faithful to its source despite all the changes, as I keep saying. And I definitely recommend it to watch, especially if you want to see an example of an anime adaptation that's done well and adapted fine for a 2-hour movie format. Yes, those are my thoughts on Gantz. What did you guys think? Please let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. And if you really dig my content, please know you can support Asian Films via Patreon from as little as $1. And yeah, that's about it for me, guys, and as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all again in the next video. Take it easy.